Larry Bird has always been the sort of guy to play things close to the vest, especially off the court. Known for his sharp wit and sharper elbows, Bird's image has long been that of a no-nonsense, straightforward legend, who preferred letting his game speak louder than anything he might say. But recently, he broke his usual silence for something, or rather someone, new to the basketball spotlight, Caitlin Clark. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. The event came as a surprise, particularly because Bird isn't known for jumping into the fray over modern sports chatter. It has often been like that one uncle at family gatherings, quietly observing, only chiming in when he has something worth saying. So when Larry Bird chose to speak about Caitlin Clark, it was like a thunderclap in a room that thought it had heard everything. Bird's words were measured, without the flair or exaggeration of contemporary media. There was a sense that he saw something special, and not in a fluffed-up, feel-good story kind of way, but in a real, gritty recognition of skill, toughness, and that certain "I don't care who you are, I'm going to win" attitude. Clark, in many ways, embodies that spirit. She's got that same fire that drove Bird to chase down loose balls, drill game-winning shots, and talk trash so efficiently it could have been weaponized. Her standout college performances, her confidence bordering on swagger, and her willingness to take risks, all of it must have reminded Bird of something familiar, almost like watching an old highlight reel of himself with a modern twist. Bird, whose career was marked by endless duels and legendary rivalries, wasn't just throwing out praise for the sake of it. He doesn't do that. For Bird to take notice, something had to resonate deeply with him. Clark's game is brash, relentless, and unapologetic. For those who watched Larry in his heyday, it's not hard to draw parallels. Bird, of course, didn't say this outright. That's not his style. But his acknowledgement of Clark felt like a passing of the torch in a sport that has evolved immensely since Bird was hitting fadeaways in tight Converse shoes. It wasn't about being a perfect mirror image, but rather about recognizing a kindred spirit in the way Clark approaches the game. Bird's words were delivered with a straightforwardness that has been his signature trait. The man has always had a way of seeing things plainly, without the filter of modern sports culture that demands drama or exaggerated narratives. He saw in Clark what many fans have seen but perhaps didn't know how to articulate. He saw a competitor, a pure baller, who cares about winning and putting on a show, all while making it look effortless. That, to Bird, was worth talking about. When the news of Bird's comments reached Clark, there wasn't some grand response from her. True to form, she receded with gratitude, but didn't let it shift her focus. Bird's message seemed almost like a nod between two players from different eras, who share an understanding of what it takes to dominate on the court. This isn't the kind of praise that blows up Twitter for days with flashy quotes, but for basketball purists, it was a moment of recognition from a legend who rarely breaks his silence for anyone. One can only imagine how Bird must have observed Clark's rapid rise. There's a quiet pride in recognizing someone who reflects a bit of your own competitive spirit. Bird was never the fastest, never the flashiest, but he outworked, outthought, and outperformed almost everyone. Clark's journey shares a similar ethos. It's not about being perfect, it's about taking risks and playing with a chip on your shoulder. Bird knew that mindset better than anyone. He practically built his career on it. In a way, Bird's remarks weren't just about Clark, but about the essence of basketball itself. He's from an era where grit and guts carried as much weight as stats and style. Clark, despite being a product of a more social media-saturated time, embodies that same spirit. And that, in essence, was why Bird felt compelled to break his silence. It wasn't to jump on a trending topic or to add noise to a conversation, but to give credit where he thought it was due. There's a particular charm in Bird's connection to Clark's game. He sees in her a type of rawness that is becoming increasingly rare in sports today. As college and professional athletes navigate branding and social media, the narratives around them can feel manufactured. But Clark's rise, much like Bird's in the late 70s and early 80s, has been more organic, built on a series of unforgettable moments on the court rather than off it. Her game speaks for itself, and her highlights are often filled with a mix of skill and emotion that mirrors Bird's style. It's not just the points she scores, but the way she scores them, with intensity and a confidence that makes spectators lean forward in their seats. Bird's reaction to Clark feels almost nostalgic. It's as if he saw her play and felt like he was watching a young version of himself. Bird's old-school mentality might seem out of place in today's basketball landscape, but when he saw Clark, it was clear she was playing in a way that transcends generations. She is unapologetically competitive, and Bird, despite being known for his humility, was fiercely proud of his competitiveness. Perhaps that's why he felt compelled to say something. He saw in Clark the kind of tenacity that defined his career. This isn't to say Bird was trying to shape Clark's narrative or claim her achievements as his own. That's not in his nature. In fact, Bird's decision to publicly speak on Clark seems like a rare moment of connection between two athletes who value the game in similar ways. He doesn't want to add a layer of pressure or change the course of her story. He's simply acknowledging that she belongs in the same conversation as those players who have a relentless desire to win. To understand why Bird's words carry so much weight, it's important to look back at his own story. Raised in the small town of French Lick, Indiana, Bird's journey to basketball greatness wasn't a straight line. It was filled with challenges, from the rough patches in his personal life to the moments on the court where he had to claw and scrap for every inch. His journey was one of determination and resolve, qualities that make him one of the most respected players of his time. His story wasn't about the glitz or glamour, but about the grind, about proving doubters wrong and embracing the pressure of high-stakes games. Clark's story, though set decades later, carries that same sense of fighting through obstacles. She plays with an awareness of those who doubt her and those who praise her, yet she seems to operate independently of both, focused solely on getting the job done. That's something Bird understands well. He was never the fastest or most athletic player on the court, but his ability to outthink and outwork his opponents was what set him apart. Clark shows similar traits, which must have caught Bird's eye as he watched her play. Bird's praise of Clark might seem like a simple acknowledgement at first glance, but it carries a deeper meaning. It's a recognition of Clark's approach to the game, which, in Bird's eyes, is just as important as her skill level. It's about playing with a chip on your shoulder, about knowing when to take a risk and when to keep pushing even when the odds aren't in your favor. Bird made a career out of those moments: the risky three-pointer, the no-look pass, the contested shot in the final seconds. He understands what it means to take the game into your own hands, and in Clark, he saw that same willingness to bet on herself. One can picture Bird sitting in a quiet room, likely with the TV volume turned down just enough so he could focus on the game without being distracted by the noise. Watching Clark, he might have seen her pull up from deep with the same defiant confidence he once had. For Bird, those moments aren't just about highlights. They're about the mindset of a player who isn't afraid of missing because they believe, deep down, that they're going to make the shot. Bird's reluctance to speak in public adds gravity to his words when he does. He's not one for making appearances or sharing his thoughts frequently. So when he does, it feels more significant. And in this case, his acknowledgement of Clark isn't just a pat on the back. It's more of a nod, a subtle, almost old-fashioned gesture of respect from one competitor to another. Bird, who has always shied away from superficial praise, must have seen something in Clark that warranted his words. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.